News.
Thank you, Victoria. I don't see any other. Okay. Do we have any changes, deletions to today's agenda? Seeing or hearing none, I need someone to move the agenda for today's finance meeting.
I'll move.
Thanks, Carrie. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it, Melba.
Thanks, Melba. All in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, so I'd like to welcome our first delegation, well, our only delegation. Michael Johnston and Barry will be speaking on the Mohawk Chapel. So at this time, I'd like to welcome both individuals to our meeting. And Michael, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Councillor, and everybody on the meeting this morning. Hello, good morning, and thank you for having us. Chair, through you to Council, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update as to where the chapel, what we have been doing. I'm sure that a lot of you probably drove by over the summer and saw the fencing and everything that was going on. So we just wanted to give you a little bit of an update as to kind of what happened and why, and then where we're at today. So with me today is the chair of the chapel board, who you're probably extremely familiar with, who I've gotten to know over the last few months, Barry Hill, great person. What I'd like to do is maybe to get Barry to give you a little brief overview of what he was experiencing back in June, just to start there as far as the threats that were received against the chapel and that sort of thing. So Barry, if you could just give a brief overview of where the chapel was at, I guess at the end of June, that would be great.
All right, can everyone hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay, we'll try. Well, good morning, everyone. As Michael said, we were experiencing, we were quite concerned that there were comments on Facebook and other social media about the chapel, and it was being included in the general conversations that were happening across the country in that time frame about churches following the discovery of the graves out west, and several churches were burned across the country, mostly Catholic churches, by the way, because the churches in question that were cited in these discoveries were Catholic churches. Then we had the situation with St. John's and an attempt at Johnsville Baptist, and so that the climate was quite concerning at that time, and we were concerned about our safety. And the tour guide that works for tourism was feeling threatened being up there. She was relocated down to Chiefswood Park eventually. So the discussion with Michael originally and Matt about what to do, Matt Jameson, we have quite a large insurance policy on the chapel, for one thing. And as a teaching center and a learning center, which we've been trying to promote more. A lot of people who wouldn't otherwise have made contact with Six Nations and its history learn about that when they come to the chapel. With a large group who, for the first time, experienced the story of the Haudenosaunee and the Six Nations, and we had a discussion on treaties and land claims and so on. So it's an important site to preserve for that very purpose, to train and provide information to people who would not probably otherwise get that. And so with the climate being what it was, the concern is how do we protect it? And our insurance company, represented by Michael, offered to put up a fence and to secure some of the artifacts. The ones in question that we were most concerned about, of course, are already stored in safe place in a vault. The Queen Anne silver and the 300-year-old Bible are already tucked away safely. I'm not going to tell you where. But nevertheless, we were worried about the site. So that's what happened. The fence went up, and it was up for quite some time. I did make contact. Jump ahead a bit, a few weeks, months. I did have a contact and discussion with Kimberly Murray of the Survivors Secretariat, and I took her on a tour of the chapel and the grounds and the cemetery, along with the OPP officer that's assigned to the case. And later we toured the surrounding fields, because no one knows how to read a map these days. And where the 500 acres actually, and we proceeded that way. Michael probably will say more about this. In parallel with having the fence up, we had a nighttime security guard from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. We managed to get through till recent incident. I'm not sure of the exact date, about a month ago now already. Security cameras were completely, the installation of the security cameras were completed. And at that point, it was decided that maybe we could look at taking the fence down. And I had invited the radar people to come and check the chapel first, if they wanted to come and practice on a real graveyard. And that would require taking the fence down. We were going to do a Christmas service on December 5th, yesterday, which would require taking the fence down. We canceled that because of COVID restrictions. It's hard to have a service with only 10 people when the time you take out the organist and the minister and the choir, there's nobody left. So we decided to cancel that yesterday. I'll let Michael talk a little bit about the incident we had with the fence. Once the security guard was pulled, apparently we were being stalked, and some thieves made off with part of the fence.
Okay. Thanks, Barry, for your presentation.
Yeah.
And so,
So-
Michael, I'm not sure if you're going to add.
Yeah, just a little bit. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I do appreciate I know everything is precious here.
The idea of having
Okay, I think Barry.
A bit of a moot point if they could take it apart and take it away. So we're hoping that things will stay calm. We're trying.
I think Barry's experiencing some technical
Yeah.
difficulties this morning, and so he's lagging, and now we've lost him. So,
Yeah.
Michael, if you could sum up the report Barry was sharing, and then we will look to questions.
Yeah, 100%. So just to give you a brief, so January 28th was when the security guard and the fence went up, based on the credible threats that we were receiving and based on the climate across Canada. And then it was around September 15th that we let the security guard go in favor of the cameras that were put up. A couple of days later, they were operational. And then it was November, when the end of November, when we were able to take down the fence. So during that time, like I said, what it was to preserve the chapel. The cost of that, which was borne 100% by Grand River, by us. It's 19,710 for the night security guard, and about 35,000 is estimated for the fence for that time. But we felt it was an important part to preserve, and to make sure that the risk was mitigated properly. So that's really what we wanted to make sure that you guys, and it was in cooperation with Barry, with Matt Jameson of the Dev Corp, and myself, wanting to
Hello?
make sure that it's,
Oh, you're back. Good.
Thanks, Michael.
so
Hi,
thank you very
Barry.
much.
Keep talking. I lost the thing, so I'm now on the phone, so just keep talking.
Yes, thanks, Barry. And so Michael's just summing up the costs for constructing the fence and as well as security. So with that, at this time, I'm going to ask counselors, does anybody have questions for either Michael or Barry?
It's Melba. No, I don't have questions, but it's unfortunate that we certainly have had destruction and threats once again concerning our people, and hopefully we can move on and really concentrate on what is necessary, and that necessary and really important is the graves and the possible children that would be found at the Mohawk Institute grounds. So that is my comment. So I'm very sorry that we certainly aren't respectful of each other at times. So thank you, Barry and Michael.
Thank you.
I might make one comment, Melba, and everyone on that remark. I joined the archives committee at the church in London, at the Diocese of Huron. We've got an issue with during the residential school lawsuit era, which was before I arrived at the chapel. Our record books were removed by lawyers from both sides of that debate, and so I don't have the full records at the chapel. I do have a copy that somebody made, and there's actually Brand Archives have documents that they copied from these missing books as well. And a couple of things. One is Kimberly Murray, in her role as Truth and Reconciliation Director, was able to access records for the Institute and also the chapel through the National Office of the Anglican Church in Toronto. And so somewhere they have the information. A lot of it went to Winnipeg, and apparently it's been sent back in a brown box someplace. We have to find that. But what I found so far in the copybook that I have, it's a kind of a summary book, is the record of 12 Mohawk Institute students who were given a burial and is recorded. What will further confuse any radar is two things. In addition to the adults that are buried there, And of course, we're talking over 200 years, so there's markers that have been lost, right? And that's not unusual. I've got missing and unmarked graves in like St. Peter's Church in the village, for example. So we've got adult graves, we've got Mohawk Institute children, about a dozen according to this record. We've got infants from the Mohawk village buried there. And we've also got about 14 settler children that are also buried there from the surrounding community. So this is going to be a challenge. Of course, the main focus is still the Mohawk Institute grounds and all those acres that have to be covered. But I'll keep working on what we can find record-wise. But so that's kind of a situation that will be dealt with over time. Probably not now until next spring with the weather, because they can't radar in the snow. And so we'll just have to see how that develops. But at the chapel, we're doing everything we can to make sure that things are portrayed fairly to get to the truth of what we need to find. Okay.
That's good to hear, and thank you, Barry. And actually, we have Kimberly Murray on the line, so I trust with her strong leadership and the Survivor Secretariat that they will be continuing to liaise with yourself and individuals within the church, the diocese. Okay, so on that note, Helen, you have a question?
Yeah, my question would be, have you priced what it would cost to put a fence around there? I
How
mean,
much
in
would it
this
cost?
in this day and age, I think we need a fence, permanent fence. Have you priced that?
Michael, I don't know what you gave costs for the fence that we had, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
35,000 for the fence you
Yeah.
have. I just wondered what it would cost to put up a permanent fence, if you know. I think
I
it's time
Well,
to do that.
Well, we get into there's a real challenges to that, kind of a social challenge, I'll call it, because I don't know, I forgot to mention it. I don't know if Michael did while I was offline. The cameras have recorded people jumping the fence now and standing up on top of Joseph Brandt's tomb and waving at the camera. So the fence we had isn't foolproof, right? We need to start getting up into 12 foot with razor wire on top or something, and that's I don't know if that's what we want to do. It's got to be kind of a fearsome looking thing if you start doing that. You said we've got security inside, we've got cameras outside. Maybe we need to have guards year round. I don't know. But then we get into the fence, and then we start to have gates, and then certain times if we want people to come and visit in the summer, people drop in, in the open hours. It's something to really think about. Cost wise, I don't know. Depends on the design of the fence.
I realize it's not a good idea, but it sounds to me like it's getting to the point where it might be needed. I mean, security cameras are great, but security cameras don't stop people from vandalizing. You just get to see who they are.
Yeah, and that's tough as well. And they're at this point, they're after the fact, I guess. Like it's not like Walmart where you got someone sitting there watching the cameras as a job.
Yeah.
These are recording information, and then you can go back and find out what happened, but we don't have a live viewer, right?
Well, I would probably suggest keeping an eye in the future. I mean, the strong possibility suggests you might have to They're thinking
Yeah.
about more safety measures.
Thanks, Helen.
Okay, noted.
Thanks, Barry.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So
Yeah.
at this time, I want to thank Michael and Barry for presenting. Is there any other questions to their presentation this morning? If not, can I have someone accept for information? Moved by Audrey,
I'll second it,
seconded
Melba.
by Sherry Lynn. All in favor? Motion is carried. Alrighty, gentlemen, thank you for attending and giving us a brief update. And yeah, if you need anything in the future, by all means, you know, to contact Becky and we'll go that route. Okay,
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Okay,
have a great
Enjoy.
holiday.
Yeah.
All the best.
You too.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, council, let's move right along. We have next on the agenda, the adoption of the general finance minutes. Do I have a mover? Audrey? Seconder?
I'll move, but what's going on with the internet? Everybody's breaking up.
Oh, am I breaking
Can't
up?
hear you.
Am I
Yeah.
breaking up?
Me, you
you're
are. I
okay.
don't know about the rest.
I think Helen's breaking up.
My
Helen,
internet? Well,
Yes.
Barry was too, not just me.
yeah, that's true.
Anyway, I'm moving the agenda, if that's what you asked.
No. Audrey's moved the minutes of November
Oh.
15th, so I need a seconder.
I'll second the
Thanks, Helen. All in favor? Motion is carried. Okay. We're moving right along to number 5, computer services. We have Dave George with us today, and you've actually submitted the briefing notes. So Dave, if you want to, does anybody have questions for Dave while he's here? Okay, maybe you want to give a brief overview so the community can hear
Sure.
what you've proposed.
Well, what we've done is we're entering into an enterprise agreement with Microsoft. The reason we are doing this is mainly to raise our security levels and get into a common software package. Like we right now we have Symantec antivirus. We have written right now the pressing issue is the BES server. So we have all the software that runs Six Nations, some of it from different vendors, and right now we're trying to streamline everything and raise security levels since we did have that one invoice try to get approved for 1.4 million. So we want to avoid that sort of situation. Also, we need to avoid the ransomware situation in the world too, because the size we are right now, we're the primary targets for ransomware. All the big companies, they've taken care of their issues as far as security is concerned. And smaller organizations, well, we're not small, but by the standards of General Motors, we're small. We're the new target. So ransomware, professional criminals try to get into the network. They have many ingenious ways. When we get the spam emails, that's usually the beginning of their attempts to get into our network. We've been fighting that off with Mimecast. We also have part of getting into the cloud and getting ACPAC intact, which is another thing we're doing. We have to have user training in internet email security. It's very important that we have that bit of training to just people understand that they're not supposed to just click on anything, look at the email address, verify it's the right person. If you have to call, you check. But we're trying to get everybody on board with knowing how to secure themselves, because if we get ransomware, somebody can actually take over our organization and take away the keys from us. That's what we're trying to avoid, and that's why we're going into this Microsoft, and we're taking our security very seriously by adopting Microsoft. And Microsoft offers different levels of security. We're getting an entire package of software. But the important thing to understand is we're not really spending more as much as moving it sideways, redirecting our spending from, like right now, we have all our Blackberries, all the Black or iPhones that get email. Everybody who has email on their handset, we're transferring that to the Microsoft MDM, and we have a bed server which manages all these devices. There's almost 400 devices. So we have to move that and get that working on a new system without interfering with anything by the 23rd of this month. So that's one of the things that we're pushing for, because there's so much work to do, and we really were just able to get started last week. So that's why we push this forward, because it's just basically diverting our spending from the things we normally spend on and spending with Microsoft under the enterprise agreement. And we will get a lot more for our money by doing this.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, with that brief overview and looking at the briefing note, any questions? Audrey?
And David, are all the iPhones also equally protected?
Well, it's all the iPhones that have email. Anybody who has email is protected. Will be protected. We're preparing, trying to get all this stuff to happen. So it has to be done by the 23rd. They were under the gun again.
Good job, Dave. Thank you.
Joe,
Helen?
Dave. So does that mean we got to learn something new? I still haven't learned Mindcast.
Well, Mindcast, you just throw in your email when it gives you that little thing. If you open a link, what
Not
it
when
does,
you're on
it
your
makes sure
phone,
that,
though. When I'm on my phone, I can't do that.
yeah,
When I'm
unfortunately,
on my phone, I can't do that because if you close Mindcast to go to the email to see your code number, when you come back, you got to start all over again. Then you're just going back and forth. And
Mhm,
a lot of times I use my phone a lot when I'm out and about to make
mhm.
sure I see emails and everything. So I'm having a hard time. I
I
don't know about the
I
rest of the
suggest that
people.
maybe you should use your computer for that sort of thing, if you can. I understand that, but if we turn it off, we don't want to be turning stuff off and getting in letting things in. We don't want to let things in. That's really important right now.
Yeah, because my
Okay.
phone is mainly my phone. My phone is mainly what I use
Okay.
Okay.
when I'm getting
We can look
emails
into
and
it, Helen.
stuff.
I will look into it to see if we can make it smoother for you. I'll talk to my guys and
But
speak to
I want to know if
Mindcast.
anybody else is having trouble. Is
What
anybody
I
else
do-
having problems besides me?
What I do, Helen, is I open up two browsers. You have your Microsoft, and you have your Mindcast, and then you just go back between and you copy and paste. It's actually, that's my workaround. You still get into your emails.
That's what I have to do.
Okay, so on that note, those are technical questions, but yes, any other questions in regards to what Dave is presenting this morning? Okay, there's a recommendation on the floor. Do I have someone willing to move it?
I'll move it. It's Hazel.
Thank you, Hazel. Do I have a second?
I'll second Melba.
Thanks, Nathan. So moved by Hazel, second by Nathan. Do I have any final questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Favor.
Does anybody oppose? Motion is carried. Okay, thanks,
Gonna
Dave.
wait second reading?
You.
Okay. So we're gonna waive second reading.
I'll move.
Thanks, Hazel. Do
Second.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. All in favor?
Favor.
Anybody oppose? Hearing none, motion is carried. Okay, so with that, we're good, and Dave has hopped off the, oh, thanks, Dave.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we're moving right along to our financial agreements. So Anna, Cecile, over to you. You're going to provide us an update on the agreements this quarter, correct?
Yes. So good morning, everyone. As we are wrapping up the year, the agreements are slowing down. But I would like to share this information. It's also in the Dropbox. Can you see the screen with the totals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So between October 1st and November 30th of this year, we have received a total of 5.9 million. 3.4 million was from AC. 1.6 million was from ISC, the FINIB branch, which is dedicated mostly to health. 440 from the Solicitor General, 270,000 from Ministry of Health, 100,000 for the Ministry of Employment and Social Services, 5,000 for Older Adult Centers Association, and a small amount for GREAT. This is the distribution of the same amount. Sorry, Audrey has a question.
Yeah, can
I'm
you
sorry.
blow that up a little bit larger, please?
Sure. Thank you. So this distribution, this is the way that money has been distributed among the different departments. Out of the 5.9 million, 3 million was dedicated to administration. This covers 50% of the total of 5.9 million. This money was provided by ASC in order to support Indigenous communities to recover own source revenue that was lost due to the pandemic. Then 1.7 million was dedicated to health, different streams. Some of them are mental health. 440,000 was for the police to support the program to fight for murder of Indigenous women. Then we had 300,000 for housing. This was for design and also for build a couple of townhouses. 270,000 for social services, 68,000 for public works, and a small amount for interior works, and a small amount for recreation. So you have here as well the detail of all the agreements, one by one. But again, it's just a distribution of what already have been presented. So these will be presented every 2 months. These are the agreements that has been signed. It does not mean that we have received the money of all of them. They just go, like according to the agreement, we'll receive the money little by little, or some of them send the funds all together, but this agreement has been signed during this period.
Okay, so thank you, Anna Cecile. Do I have any questions? So my question is, if we have signed 5.9 million, how much has been received? Because I continue to hear that our funds don't come in until the end of the year. So it sounds like that's still a concern.
Most of the agreements are when we receive the agreement, they either it's the bulk or they spread it in 2 or 3 payments. The agreements that we don't receive at the end of the year, normally it's, let's say, some of the health agreements and some of the OGD agreements, we don't receive them. But once we receive the agreement, the money flows fast. I understand OGD, sometimes we don't receive the agreement until August, which means, that we have to fund the activities in the first months of the year. But once the agreement is here, which is the case of all of these, we have received the agreement, the money flows pretty quickly.
Okay,
Question.
I have Helen and then Audrey. Helen?
So Anna, with council going to a calendar year, is this going to impact our agreements? Because most of them go to the fiscal, don't they?
Yes, the agreements goes to the, goes normally by
So how does
fiscal
that
year.
work? We're in a calendar year and the money is in the fiscal.
The whole council
How
is in
does
a,
that work? How's that?
yes, so the whole,
Pardon?
yes, the whole council is based on fiscal year. 90% of the agreements are based on fiscal year, and only the ones dedicated to daycare or to school are basically in calendar year. So we prepare reporting, and we modify that to what council needs, which is the fiscal year.
Okay, Helen, did that answer your question? I know you're having internet issues.
No, no, it didn't because I couldn't hear half of what she said.
Okay,
Glad
I
to
think
repeat.
he's breaking up. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'll ask. I can send an email.
okay. If that works, or maybe you want to turn your video off and it'll save or maybe give you some more bandwidth. Audrey?
The question, Anna, is there anything that you can do or Darren can do to expedite the money coming to Six Nations so that we're not having to carry ODG for a few months until it comes in? And also so that they're not rushed at the end of the year to try and get it spent. This has been an issue for a long time, and I know that it has improved somewhat, but what can be further done to further improve it?
So the agreements with OGD, they are normally, it occurs for everyone. It's not only for Six Nations. We can certainly call them and ask them to try to accelerate that. However, the funds that they provide are usually the same for every year. So we can prevent, not prevent, but foresee how much money it's coming for next year. The cash is a different situation. Now, in the previous years, also OGD has been underspent to the point that we have to return cash. But we can definitely talk with the ministry to see if there could be some celerity on preparing the agreement to the agreement.
Michelle, it's Hazel.
Hold on. Thanks, Hazel. I hear you. So Audrey, you're on mute. So you have a follow-up question. Can you repeat that? And then I go to
Yes.
Nathan, then Hazel.
Sorry, Hazel. The follow-up
Okay.
question is, so is there a plan for OGD not to return funds and just to expend all the funds each year?
Yes, OGD has actually already applied two programs or two activities in order to use all the funds and not return anything this fiscal year, for fiscal year 21-22.
Thanks, Anna. Okay, Nathan?
Yeah, kind of a similar question, but I guess mine leads more to the strategy. If we can get identified the department areas vis-a-vis whether it's the Ministry of Health or FNIB, INAC, all of those funders, to get kind of a status update on how they're adhering to the timelines. That's kind of where I'm interested in, is they have agreements, and in those agreements, there's a schedule of payments. If they're not adhering to that schedule of payments, then that's a role for the chief and council to start stepping in and looking at ways that we can work with them. And I think we have to get a little bit more aggressive with how we do our advocacy around that. It's not my expectation that you and Darren do that. I believe we're at that stage where we have to step in, but we need the information as well. So I'm interested in seeing, which, and I suspect which ones are bad. I know INAC's never been great at, giving money on a timely manner and adhering to their own agreements, but If we can get that status update, that way we can do some, reverse engineering and develop a strategy to kind of deal with this issue. So that's one kind of area. The second kind of area I was looking at from a strategy standpoint is on our side, if we can get a look at how many times amendments occur and whether or not that impacts the ability and how that impacts the schedule. Because I'm suspecting that when amendments come forward, and it seems like they're pushing forward from their side, that impacts a lot of things. So I guess everything relates back to the agreement, but I'm feeling that we need a strategy around the amendments and what comes forward, as well as the schedule of payments, just to start kind of getting some control around all of these. So those are just my comments, my suggestions. Yeah, we can take it from there.
Great plan, Nathan. Thank you very much. And Hazel?
Yeah, and I just want clarification. By the changing of the vacation to a calendar year basis, that's only for that one area. It doesn't impact all the financial, how it's always been administered on a fiscal year basis. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. The purpose of having the calendar, it only applies for vacation. So
Yeah.
people can have 3 more months to
Yeah.
to use it, and it still falls between the fiscal year. So our accounting and our reporting still relies on fiscal year. So that has not changed.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, just to follow up a little bit on Nathan's concerns, Michelle, if I may.
Sure.
So yeah, so IEC definitely has a delay on submitting the agreements, and they have a structure, right, where they have the main agreements to be sent, most of them at the beginning of the year, and then during the year they send amendments. But the amendments are almost always the same, and it's just they keep repeating and repeating, original and then amendments. Some of the agreements, they arrive late, but in both cases, even the agreement arrives early in the year or later in the year, the money flows as expected and as offered in the agreement. So that is something that I would like to clarify, but for sure, like there are a couple of pockets of money that are delayed, and it will be great to follow up. So I will prepare, a list of those agreements that are late that can affect, that could be affecting our cash flow. So there will be some political advocacy at, chief and council's level.
Okay. Anything following up to that, Nathan?
Okay.
Perfect. And thank you, Anna. So with that, do I have someone who will accept the update on the funding agreements received for last quarter? I mean, the last 2 months.
Move to accept.
Thanks, Nathan. And seconded by Audrey. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, and we'll move right along to accounts receivable update. Over to you, Anna.
Sorry, there was a change in, I don't think this accounts receivable because in this agenda.
Oh, sorry.
It
This
was
is the agenda I
requested.
pulled up from the email. Okay. So this isn't to be on our agenda?
No, it's not supposed to be in the agenda.
Okay. So with that, we didn't have, so Anna, thank you for being with us this morning. On that note, we don't have any more items on the open. So I need someone to motion to adjourn this morning's open session, and we'll move into the in-camera.
I'll move that, Melba.
Thank you, Melba.
I'll second it, Hazel.
Thank you. Moved by Helen, second by Hazel, all in favor. Motion is carried. And I want to thank the community for viewing this morning. And we'll see you tomorrow evening on General Council at 6 p.m. Take care and be well. Okay, we'll take a minute and we'll shift over into in camera.